Hello, you are listening to Walk-Ins Welcome. We're glad to have you on our podcast today. This is episode 4. My name is Nick Horde, and I own a company called Nick the Marketer, and I've got Michael Ray, my partner in crime. He's here with me today, sounding all raspy. Say hello.
I think I need to go to an urgent care.
You absolutely need to go do an urgent care today. I'm going to do...
I blame the weather change.
At least 55% of the talking on the podcast today. But we do have an exciting episode. We're going to be talking all things search engine optimization. You've probably been heard SEO is typically what it's called. That's the short name for it. And Michael, if I were to ask you the simplest way to explain what SEO is, what would you say?
It's showing up on page 1 of Google.
Yeah, I call it the art of showing up on Google. Simply the art of showing up on Google.
And Google hates it.
Why do they hate it, Michael Ray?
Because we don't pay them money for it.
That's right. So if you're not running a paid advertisement on Google, they make no money. Is that correct?
That's it. So when you're not running an ad, but you're showing up on page 1, Google doesn't like you. Which means they don't like us.
That's right. But there's another caveat to that as well. Being an SEO type company that we are, we actually help Google in a lot of ways. Okay, here's what I mean by that. So part of search engine optimization is creating amazing content on your website so that Google can crawl your website, pull that information off of your website, and show it in a relevant search term on Google when you're looking for an urgent care near me. I just did air quotes. You couldn't see that. But
I do it all the time.
Right. So doing that search for the urgent care near me, here's a couple of things. They want to show the most relevant thing, right? Michael, you know that. So as people are searching for urgent cares, they show up, your urgent care or one of your competitors shows up in that search. Now, because of that relevant search, you've had an opportunity to show ads for other people. And at a later episode, we'll talk about how to leverage your paid advertising in addition to your SEO.
Mm-hmm. And we always tell you that SEO is the foundation for most of your digital because showing up organically pays dividends over time. And it's not a pay-per-play model. You're not paying every time somebody clicks on you.
There are so many different ways that people attack the whole SEO conundrum here. How am I going to get my website found on Google? More importantly, how am I going to get found on Google in areas that I don't already exist in physically? The good news, you're going to like this, urgent care owners. Here's why. Most people, studies have shown, aren't going to drive anywhere further than about 10-mile radius.
If that.
Of the business they're trying to get to, unless it's like a restaurant or a theme park or something like that. But as dentist work, as primary cares work, as urgent cares work, you have about a 10-mile radius that you need to dominate in, and it does a couple of things for you. It makes it very easy, when done properly, to rank, and very cost-effective to do this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And it's something that, I wish we could say you do this and this will happen, but Google will never tell us what we have to do to make it work.
Then they'll change it too.
Yeah, then they'll change. They'll announce, hey, speed's important, but then they don't tell you when and why. And then all of a sudden they change it, and speed did not make your ranking better. This is something we deal with on a monthly basis. We're always trying to adjust. We have a formula that tends to work, but it's not works every single time, every single way. We have some clients that our formula kind of works, and we had to change it. Now it's working better, but it's something to say it's not just 1, 2, 3, got it. It's a constantly moving target.
So, Michael, what do you think is the most important thing that you have to do to rank on Google?
One would be making sure your stuff, your name, address, and phone number is accurate.
We call that the NAP, right?
Yep. Make sure it's accurate and it's across all directories and areas. So if I find you or Google finds you, it's all the same. It's not a different number or a different address. It doesn't confuse Google, because if you confuse Google, you'll never rank.
This is the best story. So you know Preston. You've met my Preston. He's my middle child. Today he's 11. When he was about 5 or 6 years old, I can't remember exactly what the age was, but I remember this like it was yesterday. Michael, my parents were in town and my sister was in town, and we were having a birthday party, and my parents would call me son. Mm-hmm. All right. My other 2 sons would call me daddy. My wife would call me honey. My friends would call me Nick. And I'll never forget Preston, because you know Preston, his sweet little Preston, looks at me and goes, "Who are you?"
Yep.
Right? So why am I bringing that up? Google operates like a 6-year-old child. If you don't have
Writing a college paper.
I'm telling you, if you don't put out the exact same name, address, and phone number, Google looks at your business and goes, "Who are you?" And it moves on to the next company that's got their directories in order and their name, address, and phone number in order.
Oh yeah, yeah. And so if you can't get that correct, like it's gonna anything else you do will not have the same effect.
Right.
Because you can have good content, you can have excellent reviews, all these things, but if it's confusing information to Google, they won't figure it out.
Yep. So make sure that to put some clarity on this, Michael. Typically, businesses and urgent cares, they don't mess up their address and their phone number. They mess up their name. Yeah. It's like, let's just say that you own...
Or just don't use your doctor's name every time.
Exactly. And here's what they do. They'll put the doctor's name or they'll put LLC or Inc. or something in there. All of those are fine so long as it's the exact same thing. So if you're going to put www dot, or not the W's, sorry. If you put Bob's Urgent Care, comma, LLC.
Or comma MD.
Any of that with periods, commas, and everything have to be exactly the same across the internet. So don't cause confusion with how Google is going to interact with your business by calling yourself 30 different names.
Well, and also, too, if you put your name to the doctor, and the doctor may not be the primary owner, that doctor could leave and kind of take his Google rankings with him. Like we've seen it before where the doctor ranks, but the urgent care or the primary care does not. And then they change. So keep that in mind when you're actually putting out your listing and putting your information out. If it's not the actual name of the urgent care that you want everybody to seek, which to be honest, whatever's on your front door, on your glass door walking into your office or the door or the signage above the building itself, that should match because that's how people find you. And it needs to be consistent every time.
So you said directories are the number one thing. I think having your Google My Business listing completely optimized is the number one thing. Right. So if you just Google My Business, like go to the search engine and Google that, it's easy to set up. You most likely, I'd say 99% of our audience have this.
If you got a postcard from Google, you probably have done this. Now, you may not know how to log into it. Most people forget.
It's a Gmail account.
Or somebody did it for you and you don't know who that person was. Maybe it was a receptionist or an intern. That's a problem. But yeah, you should have a login. But that's key. If you can't get that set up, you're kind of cooked.
Now, there's some components to Google My Business that I want to talk to you just a little bit. I'm not going to go into massive detail, but these are some components of Google My Business that will really, really, really throw gas on the fire for your business. One of those things is going to be photos. So your photos show up in Google, especially if you've named them and labeled them correctly. So making sure that your logo is on there, making sure that you have a good picture of your location on there, and even some good snapshots of the inside of your business, so long as it isn't violating any kind of, you don't want pictures of kids in there or something. You know what I mean? But having those pictures up there, that's going to help them rank.
Then you also need to set your categories so Google knows what you offer because sometimes, and there are subcategories. I think people miss that where they'll just select the main one but not the sub ones. And it helps because when somebody does a search, Google says, oh, wait, they count their category set for this. I'm going to show them more often. And then the other part is the post, the GMB post. Talk more about that.
Yeah, so you can use Google as a search engine, as a social media platform. And it used to be called, it started out as called Google Circles. Then it changed to Google Places.
Oh, yeah.
And from Places, it became Google My Business. All right. So if you've ever heard somebody say Google Places.
Even Google Plus.
Yeah, Google Plus. Google Plus was the circles. I'm sorry. I called it circles, but it was Google Plus.
Yeah, Google.
Because you could formulate everybody into circles.
And if y'all ever seen the G plus the plus sign that's all red, it formed itself into Google My Business. Because that was a terrible social platform. I remember when it came out, and then like a year, everything with Google, it comes out, it's great and wonderful, and then it tends to die half the time. And I remember a Google ex-employee wrote this email saying how horrible it was, and it just lost all its steam after that.
Gotta love it when your employees tear your company down.
It's a
Don't let
thing.
that happen to you.
It's a thing.
It is a thing. But making sure that you're using it as a social media platform. Here's what I mean. If you're going to post something that's going to have a high quality content and an engaging content that you would post on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, go ahead and post it on your Google My Business listing as well. Google identifies that. It understands the hashtags. It understands the relevance to the search, and it's going to start showing you up more. We recommend a minimum of once a week.
Yeah, at least that. And it's simple too. Like to actually do a post, you log in, you click on post, it's a create new post. Like it's very straightforward. And then there are platforms that allow you to auto post to it. Like it's like he was saying, if you're already doing social media, this is just an extra checkbox, but it makes a difference.
Google My Business also allows you to do what I would say is arguably the most important thing for an urgent care specifically, and that is to show up in Google Maps.
And the reviews.
That's right. Well, the reviews are critical, unless you're getting a bunch of 1 stars. Then
Yes, that's a problem.
Also critical, but for another reason. But what it does is it allows you to show up on Google Maps. And if you look at the anatomy of a Google search, if you were to search for, let's just say, urgent care near me, the first thing that's going to pop up is an ad. We know that. But underneath that isn't organic search or SEO search. It is Google Maps that shows up. And that is in direct correlation to your Google My Business listing and strength.
Yeah, if you ever hear anybody say map 3-pack, that's where it lives. You see that little map and all the pinpoints. People, especially on their phone, they want to physically look around them because Google's pulling their GPS. Like that's super important, especially for urgent cares because it's a convenience factor. Like I need you to be a mile from my house.
That's right.
So
that's the Google My Business relevance. You had already brought up reviews, and we'll spend an entire episode in the near future talking reviews.
Man, reviews are a different animal.
They are. They're necessary. They're important. And I would even argue it's better to have no reviews than a 1 star. With that being said, though, let's move on to the next thing, and that is going to be content is king. Content is king. If you're going to rank your website using search engine optimization on the Google platform, you're going to have to put out relevant content in 2 forms. Michael, go ahead and talk about those for a second. We're talking about services and we're talking about blogs.
Yeah. So, and we've touched a little bit on this on the website episode, if you want to go back and listen to that. But yeah, service pages. So you need to have a page for everything you offer. So like if you do x-rays, you do primary care visits, those are all separate pages that talks about that. And it's tied to a city that you're in. So if your location, like we're here in Birmingham, it needs to say like primary care in Birmingham, and it talks about things inside of that. Because Google, once again, can only read the text. And so if it's not good information, it can't serve up a good result. So it's super important. Then the other side is the blog side. So the blog side can talk about other aspects inside the industry.
Like pink eye.
Yeah, so it could be like if it's flu season, if it's talking about some new treatments, anything like that, where it's not just a particular service, but really just talks about just the different elements. That's important because on a blog, you can actively, like for most of our clients, we post once a week, and that tells Google, this website's being updated regularly. Like Google crawls your website a lot, but it crawls a lot more when you're updating it, and it knows that. So use that blog to put out new stuff. This is not just, hey, I got a ribbon cutting or something like that, because that doesn't mean much when people are doing searches. So keep that in mind, that you have the service pages and you have the blog.
All right, we're throwing tons and tons of stuff at you. We're about halfway through this, guys. Hang in there. All right, the other side of that, when we're still talking about the website, is we can't not do a technical optimization and a speed optimization. All right, so a technical optimization, then I'll let you talk about speed. All right, so a technical optimization is going to be getting into the back end of your website and making sure that you have descriptions, what we call a meta description. It's going on to the main part of your website, so making sure that you have title tags, such as an H1 tag, and an H1 tag. I know this sounds nerdy, but it's important. So an H1 tag is what Google says this is the primary purpose of this page. For example, if I wanted to offer primary care as part of my urgent care, it would say primary care, Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Yep.
Right? So I'm putting a city identifier along with the keyword, and I'm writing all of the content based on that primary header, right? Technical optimization is making sure that everything is functioning properly on the back end as well, which means your images are optimized and they have alternate tags on those. That you're doing the proper SEO setups on there using something to the tune of Yoast or SmartCrawl Pro, which is what we use.
If you live in WordPress, for sure.
Yeah, and we live in WordPress. Wix has its own builder built into it. Squarespace has its own system for doing SEO. We primarily operate out of the WordPress world. So let's talk a little bit about speed optimization.
So speed is something that's been always important, but became more important back over the summer of 2021, so just a few months ago. And when Google announces something's important, you have to take notice because it will affect things. Like a couple of years ago, mobile was a big deal. They announced it, and it really affected rankings. Speed is on their agenda right now because they want those websites that they serve up as results to load really, really fast. You only got a couple of seconds to capture somebody, and they want to make sure that they just gave you a website that's going to load fast. So what is speed in terms of, is my site fast? Well, here's the thing. You may think your site's fast. It may load fast for you, but if Google doesn't think it's fast, you're never going to win. How do I know what Google thinks of my site? Just do a search for Google Page Speed Insights. Typically, it's going to be the first link you click on, and it'll ask you to put in your website. It will give you a score. On that score, it'll give you a desktop score and a mobile score. Anything below 90 out of 100, you have to work on.
Yeah, and here's the bigger picture in that, in my mind, is Google they do not want you to leave their website.
Nope.
But if you're going to, they want to serve up the type of websites that are going to give a great user experience. So this isn't so much for Google as it is for the end user. Mm-hmm. And if you do a better job of having a great user experience for your particular user, Google is going to reward that by bumping you up in the rankings, and they're going to punish you for having a slow website by reducing your rankings or not showing you at all. And let me just tell you, the best place in the world to bury a dead body is on page 2 of Google.
Every time.
Or page 1 of Bing. All right, so.
And I'll let you know, too, you'll probably never hit 100 out of 100. You'll probably get 90s, 95s, 99s. But and even Google, they'll just give you a green light. So anything above 90 is good. And I'll be honest, there are tools out there to help fix this because we used to do everything by hand, and it was, a nightmare.
Time-consuming and expensive, and it cost our clients a lot of money to pay us to do that.
Yeah, and so we were able to find tools to help fix it in a better way. So there are options out there that can help you fix this, but it takes money and takes time.
And we'll give you those tools. Just write us. What's our email address?
Yeah, so hello@urgentcaremarketingpros.com. Just send us an email, and we're happy to let you know. Here's the tools that we use, and we're not like proprietary or anything. It's all open. Like you can go find if you do a quick enough search. But from our experiences, these tools actually do work consistently.
Love it. One of the other caveats, probably the last one we're going to talk about today, is going to be backlinking. And
that's a mystery.
It is. And I'm going to tell you that there are about a million different ways to do this, and none of them are proven to be the most effective. It is expensive. Well, but Nick, aren't you just like charging me by the hour? No, that's not how we operate. We have to actually outreach to different bloggers, to different companies, and ask for permission to post on their website.
Yep.
And permission for that post that we write for that website to link back to your website.
And then they'll delete it later.
And they will delete it later. So we have to build tons of them, right?
Well, and we've learned too that quality over quantity. If you do a search right now, backlinks for my website, you'll come across all these options. Hey, you get 25,000 top domain authority backlinks. That does nothing but hurt you.
Google, it's going to harm you. You're about to break your site if you do that.
Google will recognize that you're dumping a bunch of backlinks, and most of them are like just, I would say, black market type sites, but sites that don't really matter. It doesn't help you. We find that if you just have 5 to 10 quality hand-built links a month is way more effective than 10,000 low-quality links that were just automated.
And you're going to lose about 20-25% of those every month too. So
yeah,
you have to have a link strategy that's going to outweigh your attrition.
And to give you a context of a backlink, a simple one that you probably can do yourself, let's say you signed up for the chamber, go fill out that directory listing where you put in your website address. That's a backlink from a legitimate source. Super easy for you to do, and it does help you.
That's right. So we've covered quite a few things. All right. But I want to give you something if you're listening and you want to take advantage of some of the things that we offer at no charge. We will drop the link in the show notes. So I'm not going to tell you the long URL. But what we've done is we put together 9 steps on how to rank on Google Maps. I believe that that is the most important thing that an urgent care can do is rank on Google Maps, because if you rank number 1 on Google Maps, you're automatically going to rank number 1 on Google in that search. So we want to show you how to do it. It is not easy, and I don't even want to pretend that it is, but we do show you how to do it. And we've had people that have taken advantage of this download, and they've ranked their own business without having to hire us or any other agency. It's a great resource. And here's the thing. These 9 steps, I'm going to walk you through each step in writing, and then each day you're going to get an email from me that's going to either have a video walkthrough of how to do it. It's going to give you something that's going to help you take action to get your own urgent care ranked on Google Maps.
Yeah, and like he was saying, it's detailed, it works, but it is time consuming.
It is.
It's not something you can knock out in an hour.
Michael, most people hire us not because they can't do it themselves. It's because they are better at providing medical care than they are ranking their own business.
Yeah, I mean, technically speaking, everything that we're talking about today, you could do yourself, like most things in this world, but you just don't have the time, and you don't know if it's the right way to do it or the wrong way, or did you do it right all the way through? Did you finish it? Because I know when I start something on the side and all of a sudden 3 months goes by and I've forgotten about it. So yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, when you get this 9-step piece, it's totally doable. The ones that have done it themselves, they see great return, but they admit it takes a lot of effort.
It does. Well, we want to give that to you as a free resource. There's a link in the show notes that we're going to provide for you. Michael, there is so much in SEO to cover that it's really hard to get it in under 30 minutes. So what we've done is we've given you kind of a 10,000-foot view of how SEO works in general. And over several weeks, we're going to unpack each one of those. We're going to talk about reviews. We're going to talk about how to do your Google My Business services and how to get that structured the way you want it to, what kind of pictures to use. We're going to talk about how your blog should be structured on your website and how to do your service pages so that they'll rank well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to go, like, there's so much, even when we just take on a client, there's so much detail and work. Like, we use a project management software called ClickUp, and I think it has 60, 80 tasks the second somebody signs on that we have to knock out.
That's in the first 30 days.
Yeah, in the first month. And this is our task that we've come up with. So this is something we're very good at and do quickly, but it's a lot there. It's not, let me just fill in their information, hit send. There's so much more.
I love it, man. Good information today on ranking your urgent care on Google. Definitely take advantage of that free rank on Google Maps. We really would love to get your feedback on that. And it's hello@urgentcaremarketingpros.com. We'd love to hear about your urgent care. What are some of the things that you're struggling with on the marketing side? Here's something that we probably need to address in a future episode that I've heard a lot about is that you don't have a shortage of patients. You have an influx of patients, and you may be having a hard time on how to manage the flow that you have.
Yeah.
We could talk about things like high level and some other things that'll help you with that flow process. So I'm looking forward to talking about that in future episodes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thank y'all for taking a listen in my scratchy voice, but we'll catch you on the next one.
Have a great week.